respected chairpersons, teachers, and my dear friends. It is my pleasure and privilege to be delivering the Dr.Bhimandas Bilwani prestigious oration, and it makes even more happy to be delivering it from the Ganga podium because I have been an alumni of this great institute. I'll be talking on primary burn prevention. So as we all know, burns are very difficult to manage, very painful, and the economic burden on the victim and the family and the society is exponential and immense. Burns prevention is the only way forward. So essentially, burns prevention revolves around these questions: when do burns occur, where do burns occur, who gets burned, why do burns occur, how do burns occur, and essentially trying to find answers and solutions to these questions in the form of education, engineering, and enforcement of legislation. So the scope of talk would be primary burn prevention strategies used by burn surgeons across India, our own contribution towards primary burn prevention, success stories of global strategies, and my suggestions for improvement in the current scenario. So across the length and breadth of the country, various people in and across India have been using various strategies for primary burn prevention. It is not possible to include everybody's name, but contributions across India have been great. We have been commonly using community-based preventive programs, school-based preventive programs, programs for safe use of firecrackers, programs on awareness of harmful practices regarding cooking and other burn aspects, awareness lectures, awareness rallies regarding burn prevention, street plays for awareness, run for burn initiatives, children's safety cooking appliances, then awareness of fire brigade personnel as well. There have been poster and drawing competitions which have been conducted for children, prize distributions for the same, impact assessment regarding school children. Various webinars have been conducted in the COVID times regarding burn prevention as well as educating the general public. Skits have been performed. Awareness posters are uniformly used across India in different languages. Then there have been burn survivor meets and camps which have been conducted regularly. So all and many more of these initiatives have been done across India. In our own small way, we have taken up a lot of initiatives. Some never really picked up, some failed miserably, and some we are still pursuing. So essentially ours is a journey, I would say, more of failures, and I would like to share them over here. So I wrote a pictorial guide on multiple aspects on burn prevention in English and regional language Marathi in Maharashtra. Around 20,000 copies were distributed in and around municipal schools in Pune with the help of Rotary, Inner Wheel clubs and various non-government organizations. The book was also parked on social media for free download. Various pictorial guides were distributed in rural schools across Maharashtra again with the help of various NGOs. We undertook training of teacher initiatives and took participate in public awareness talks regarding burn prevention. Our burns wards are the areas where there is maximum footfall of burn victims and their relatives. So we painted our burn walls outside as well as inside with burn prevention messages. And as was expected, within a few days, there were spit marks all over those walls on the exterior. Then I requested one of my friend who is a artist to start the greeting card initiative and put greeting cards on her stalls a couple of years back. Not a single greeting card with burn prevention messages was sold. Then with the help of my daughter, we have been using this pour water on burnt t-shirts every year since the past few years, especially on Diwali. Now my wife doesn't agree to it, but I am sure my friends here would agree that only my daughter is growing up and I still look the same like before 7 to 8 years. Then with the help of medical representatives, we have been using brochures and pamphlets, especially at firecracker stalls. With every bag of firecracker purchased, we insert a brochure in that bag so that burn prevention message is widely circulated to all those who purchase these firecrackers. We have created a lot of awareness videos on primary burn prevention as well as first aid of burn prevention as well as car care management, and they are available on our YouTube channel Plastic Surgery Education. We try to spread these videos at every possible opportunity, at every possible avenue. To make burn prevention education as a mandatory part of school education, we have been trying since a lot of years. We have wrote officially to the state boards, the Bal Bharati, Department of School Education and Literacy, National Council of Educational Research and Training, and Ministry of the HRD. We also met a few in person. We got responses from few. We didn't get responses from many, but the current scenario is in few states it is now a part of school education. However, a lot of lobbying is required to make it a part of school curriculum across India. Then we have been taking telemedicine and teleeducation lectures again regarding primary burn prevention and first aid at various telemedicine centers across Maharashtra. Our Indian Railways has got an extensive network, and this is probably the best, cheapest way to reach maximum public. Now, Southeastern Railways is now actively promoting burn prevention and first aid of burn as a part of their official campaign. They have been using it at their various railway stations using a variety of posters as well as videos. I think this is our most successful initiative till date with maximum impact and maximum footfall to educate maximum number of public. So before the COVID times, we identified hotspots, areas from where we had maximum number of burn patients, and after identifying those hotspots, we met the relevant authorities, we lobbied with them and conducted specific burn prevention education in those areas from where we received maximum number of patients. With the help of an NGO called Jeevan Jyot Charitable Trust, we provided elevated cooking platforms to urban slums. And interestingly, these patients were happy because their knee problems were taken care of and they had absolutely no concern regarding burn prevention and why these platforms were provided. We also contributed a chapter on burn prevention in the textbook of Plastic Reconstructive and Aesthetic Surgery. So we have been taking a lot of initiatives over the years, but the measurable impact of all these initiatives is questionable, is definitely questionable. Especially while working for this presentation, I realized, are we working hard enough as individuals, as an association? So yes, we are definitely working hard enough. All of us have been taking efforts throughout the year and across India. But are we working smart? I think not. Most of our initiatives are focused on intervention programs based on education. And there is little evidence, or rather no evidence, which shows that intervention program based only on education helps in preventing burn injuries. Now, if we analyze, rather I analyze my own YouTube channel and social media content, all the videos related to burn prevention, 300 views over the past 5 years, 11 views over 1 year, 40 views over 1 year. We take a lot of efforts in creating these videos, and 10 and 11 views in 1 year, 700 books downloaded over past 12-13 years, and God knows how many of those were read. And at the same time, if we compare with socially relevant topics like preservation of amputated part, 80,000 views. So it makes me wonder whether are we targeting the right audience? Are we reaching the right number of people and the right people through our education-based initiatives? We have all seen the trend of decrease in kerosene-related burns. We have all seen that ground level cooking related burn injuries have declined over the years. Similarly, we have also noticed increase in LPG related burns, electrical burns, industrial burns, and sanitizer burns is a new thing which has come up during COVID times. So with these changing trends, we also need to change our trends, our approach towards burn prevention, especially towards primary burn prevention. Now, if we study the success stories of primary burn prevention across the globe, there is strong evidence to suggest that engineering and enforcement of legislation are much more effective ways of burn prevention than burn prevention education alone. If we see high-income countries, use of smoke detectors, use of regulation of hot water temperature, flame-resistant fabric uses for children's sleepwear, fire-safe cigarettes, housing codes for safe electrical wiring, all these have shown a reduction in the burns and in death to the tune of almost 61%. If we only see the Bangladesh Acid Control Act of 2002, at one point of time before this act was implemented, there used to be more than 500 burn injuries, acid burn injuries in 1 year. This volume has come down to 50 after radical implementation of the Bangladesh Acid Control Act. So I think we need to rethink our strategy. Apart from focusing on burn prevention education, we also need to focus on legislation and engineering aspects of primary burn prevention. If we see eye donation, if we see clefts, they have Aishwarya Rai as their brand ambassador. I have the utmost respect for Mr. Paresh Rawal for being the brand ambassador and promoting skin donation actively, but I think we need to glamorize burns. Celebrities and youth icons with mass appeal must be roped in as our brand ambassadors, and that is not only for skin donation, it should also be for primary burn prevention. So only when we have more and more youth looking towards primary burn prevention, we will be able to have a measurable impact. We have been celebrating Burn Prevention Day on 18 January this year onwards, which is because of the initiative of the NABI, and it is a wonderful initiative, and I think in the years to come it will have a tremendous impact like the Plastic Surgery Day on 15 July has had. Incidentally, this current week is also being celebrated in the US as the Burns Awareness Week, and their theme this year is scar prevention, and their motto for this year is hot liquids burn like fire. So from subsequent years, we also can have focused themes for burn prevention for those individual years so that we can have targeted audience and reach wider public. Coming to use of legislation, we all know that all burn preventive programs, the buck stops with good amount of data, and efforts are on at the level of our association to start a burn registry as a part of National Program of Prevention of Burn Injuries. But we can probably go ahead and think further and think of making burns a notifiable disease. Possibly more than 20 to 30% body surface area burns can be considered as a notifiable disease. The difference would be a notifiable disease makes it mandatory to report. Just simple registry doesn't make it mandatory reporting. And if we have a mandatory reporting, we can have a robust database, and it will be very helpful in outcomes in burn care. Again, regarding use of legislation, few states in the United States have made it mandatory for burn prevention education to be incorporated in schools. Here in India, however lectures we may go and take as plastic surgeons, as burn care surgeons in school, that will never be adequate in the long run. In the long run, only thing which will be adequate is making burn prevention a mandatory part of school education by law. We have legislations in place regarding industrial safety, firecracker factories, and firecracker quality control as well. But probably effective implementation and enforcement of legislation is lacking, which also needs to be looked onto. Stronger legislation for acid control is also necessary. So I think we had our chief guest and guest of honor today. We should focus on sensitizing the policy makers regarding the magnitude and severity and impact of burns in our country. So burns, approach for burns has been and always will be multi-pronged. Mandatory record keeping, advocacy and mass education, policy making and enforcement, and capacity building and upgradation are the pillars based on burn prevention. We should particularly focus on what we are lacking, which is policy making and enforcement and mandatory record keeping. So essentially our burn prevention initiatives should focus on enforcement of legislation, engineering and education. Our approach should be dedicated, determined and disciplined, and our efforts should be calculated, consistent and coordinated. And having said that, each and every individual effort taken by each and individual member of our association at a personal level and at an association level matters. Burn prevention is not easy, but easy or not, burns must be prevented. I'll just tell a quick short story. I'm sure many of you might have heard it. Phil Knight, who was the chairman of the Nike group, was talking to a large audience at a point of time, and he asked the audience, how many of you have ever run for exercise? Most of the hall stood up. Then he asked, how many of you go for a run every week, rather once a week, the number of standing people came down. If you further asked, how many of you run at least twice a week, the number further came down. He further said, how many of you run at least 3 to 4 times a week, irrespective of what the temperature is, whether it is cold, whether it is hot, whether it is raining. And then there were very few people who were left standing. And then he said, the next time you go out for a run, when the sun is yet to be up, when it is cold, when it is sort of humid, it is raining, and you are still going out there, remember that we are the ones who are cheering for you. And at that instance you realize that Nike has got nothing to do about winning. It has got everything to do about doing. It has got everything to do about trying. And I think that is what we need to do for primary burn prevention. We have to just do it. Each and every one of us has to do it. At every possible opportunity we have to do it, and we have to keep on doing it. And the power of compounding is real. If we keep on doing it, our subsequent generations would definitely benefit from it. And this is my team, which has been very helpful in burn prevention activities for quite a few years now. And finally, to conclude, pour water on burns. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent.
Just a quick comment on the last slide. Please don't just do it. The split takes a lot of efforts.
I request Dr. Bilwani to say a few words.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, the number of burn surgeons in our country is extremely low as compared to the large quantum of burns work we have to do. The number of dedicated burns prevention workers is still low, and therefore the magnitude of burns is very high, very high. There is one organization which has recently come up in Ahmedabad. Its name is Being Patient Foundation. Being patron of that association, I want to share the motto of that association is to render India burns free by 2025. But now I feel it is very, very ambitious program. And to achieve that, we don't require only one nickel fonse. We require at least 10 nickel fonses to achieve that target. With that few words, I request Dr. Nikhil Fonse to come forward. We have to give you something.
Yes.